Deep beneath the scorching sands of Giza lies a mystery so disturbing that archaeologists have spent decades trying to understand why Pharaoh Khafre terrifies them.
The discovery of mysterious stone structures in the sand suggests the Egyptians had in fact been far more ingenious than anyone had imagined.
What they discovered about Khafre's methods, his achievements, and the secret passageways connecting to the Sphinx has shaken our understanding of ancient Egyptian capabilities.
So it would have been one of the largest cities in the world in the 3rd millennium BC. So where was it, and where was all the infrastructure?
The evidence suggests Khafre possessed knowledge and power that seems almost impossible for his time period. Dive in as we uncover why Pharaoh Khafre has left archaeologists terrified, and it isn't reassuring. The stone that shouldn't exist. The first sign that something was deeply wrong with our understanding of Pharaoh Khafre came in 1860, when archaeologist Auguste Mariette made a discovery that still haunts the archaeological community today. Hidden within Khafre's Valley Temple at Giza, buried under centuries of sand and debris, lay a statue that should never have existed. The seated figure of Khafre wasn't carved from the limestone that surrounded it, nor from the granite that formed other royal statues of the era. Instead, it was carved from anorthosite gneiss, a rare, shimmering green stone with white streaks running through it like frozen lightning. The material creates an otherworldly effect, almost seeming to glow from within under certain lighting conditions. The stone's iridescent quality gives the statue a nearly supernatural appearance that captivates everyone who sees it. But here's what terrifies archaeologists. Anorthosite gneiss doesn't exist anywhere near Giza. The closest known source lies over 600 miles away, deep in the Nubian desert west of the Second Cataract. We're talking about one of the most remote and hostile environments on Earth, even by ancient standards. The region is so isolated that modern geological surveys require extensive expedition planning to reach it safely. The statue weighs several tons. Moving such a massive block across hundreds of miles of desert, then down the Nile to Giza, seems impossible even with modern equipment. The logistical challenges involved in such an operation would strain contemporary construction companies with access to trucks, cranes, and satellite navigation. Yet somehow, 4,500 years ago, Khafre's builders not only located this rare stone but transported it across vast distances to create one of the most perfectly crafted sculptures in human history.
The discovery of mysterious stone structures in the sand suggests the Egyptians had in fact been far more ingenious than anyone had imagined.
How did nobody notice the impossibility of what they were attempting? The sheer audacity of the project suggests either complete confidence in their methods or access to capabilities that historians have never documented. The choice of material wasn't random. Anorthosite gneiss was selected for specific properties that enhanced the statue's symbolic power. The green color evoked themes of rebirth and eternal life central to Egyptian religious beliefs. The stone's extreme hardness ensured the sculpture would survive millennia without significant weathering. Most importantly, the exotic origin of the material demonstrated royal power that could reach into the most remote corners of the known world. This discovery was just the beginning of a puzzle that has consumed archaeologists for decades, because if Khafre could move stones from impossible locations, what else was he capable of? The statue stands as evidence of capabilities that seem to exceed what any ancient civilization should have possessed. A pharaoh's impossible vision. Khafre ruled Egypt during the 4th dynasty, a period when the Old Kingdom reached its absolute peak. His pyramid stands as the second largest at Giza, and his face is believed to be carved into the Great Sphinx itself. But new evidence suggests his true power extended far beyond what any pharaoh before or after him ever achieved. Archaeological investigations have revealed a scope of operations that challenges fundamental assumptions about ancient Egyptian capabilities. The reign of Khafre marked the height of pyramid construction technology. His builders achieved precision in stone cutting, alignment, and construction that wouldn't be matched again for thousands of years. The pyramid's internal chambers demonstrate mathematical knowledge and engineering skills that required generations to develop. Yet historical records suggest these capabilities appeared suddenly and vanished just as quickly after his death. Archaeological excavations at his Valley Temple revealed something shocking. This wasn't just one statue. It was part of a massive program involving hundreds of sculptures. Each one was carved from materials sourced from the most remote corners of the known world. The logistics required to coordinate such a project boggle the mind. Workers had to be organized, fed, housed and supervised across distances that would challenge modern project managers. Khafre's builders had to identify quarry sites in locations so remote that modern expeditions struggled to reach them. They needed to organize teams capable of working in the harshest desert conditions imaginable. Then came the difficult task of moving multi-ton blocks across landscapes that kill unprepared travelers within days. The coordination required suggests communication and organizational systems that seem impossible for the ancient world. The Valley Temple itself provides disturbing evidence of Khafre's advanced capabilities. The structure uses massive granite blocks fitted together with precision measured in millimeters. The stones show no mortar joints, yet they've remained perfectly aligned for over 4,000 years, despite earthquakes, floods, and the settling of foundations. The construction techniques employed remain mysteries that modern engineers struggle to duplicate. Inside the temple, archaeologists discovered evidence of a workshop complex where sculptures were finished after transport from distant quarries. Tool marks on unfinished pieces reveal cutting and polishing techniques that required specialized knowledge of stone properties. The workshops show evidence of quality control systems that ensured consistent results across dozens of sculptors working simultaneously. The more archaeologists studied Khafre's projects, the more they realized something disturbing. This pharaoh had access to knowledge and resources that seemed impossible for his time. The precision of his planning, the scale of his operations, and the advanced techniques his builders employed suggest capabilities that historians are still struggling to explain. The evidence points to a level of centralized control and technical expertise that wouldn't emerge again until the modern industrial age. But the real mystery was yet to be discovered, hidden in the desert where Khafre's workers once toiled under conditions that should have made their mission impossible. Secrets of the Desert Quarry. Following the stone's trail backward led archaeologists into one of the most inhospitable places on Earth. The quarry site where Khafre's builders worked lies in a region so remote and dangerous that modern expeditions require satellite navigation and extensive supply chains to survive a few days. The landscape consists of endless dunes, rocky outcroppings, and salt flats that stretch to the horizon without a single landmark to guide travelers. Yet evidence scattered across this hostile landscape tells a story that chills archaeologists to their core. Worked stone blocks lie partially buried in the sand, their surfaces showing clear signs of old tool marks. The precision of these cuts reveals techniques that push the boundaries of what copper and bronze tools should have been able to achieve. Some blocks show evidence of being shaped to exact specifications before transport, suggesting pre-planning that required detailed knowledge of their final destinations. Bronze implements discovered at the site include specialized tools that don't match any known Egyptian designs. These instruments were clearly designed for working the specific properties of an orthosite gneiss, indicating that Khafre's artisans developed new technologies specifically for this project. The sophistication of the tool designs suggests metallurgical knowledge that seems advanced for the period. Pottery shards found throughout the quarry area bear inscriptions with Khafre's cartouche, proving that organized teams operated here for extended periods. But the pottery itself tells a disturbing story. The ceramics show signs of mass production using standardized techniques, suggesting industrial-scale operations that required hundreds of specialized workers. The sheer quantity of pottery fragments indicates operations that lasted for years, not the brief expeditions that historians once assumed. This is shocking when you consider what survival in this environment requires. There's no natural water source for miles. Temperatures regularly exceed 120 degrees Fahrenheit during the day and plummet near freezing at night. Sandstorms can bury entire expeditions without warning. Venomous snakes and scorpions make camping dangerous even for experienced desert travelers. Yet Khafre's workers not only survived here, they thrived, creating a sophisticated quarrying operation that operated for years. The evidence gets more disturbing the deeper archaeologists dig. They found remnants of permanent structures, suggesting workers lived on-site for months at a time. These weren't temporary shelters, but engineered buildings designed to protect inhabitants from extreme weather conditions. The construction techniques used in these desert outposts demonstrate architectural knowledge explicitly adapted for harsh environments. Storage areas contain traces of preserved food and water containers, indicating supply chains that stretched across hundreds of miles of desert. The preservation methods used show a sophisticated understanding of food science and logistics management. Most unsettling of all, they discovered burial sites where workers who died during the operation were interred with full honors, complete with grave goods and religious ceremonies that required priests to travel from distant cities. The scale of Khafre's desert operation suggests he commanded resources and organizational capabilities that rival modern industrial projects. But how did his teams move the massive stone blocks they quarried from this impossible location? The answer to that question reveals even more disturbing evidence of advanced capabilities. The ramps that make no sense. At the quarry site, archaeologists discovered stone ramps carved into the desert floor, but these weren't like any transportation system they'd seen before. The ramps feature deep parallel grooves running down their length, too narrow for the wooden sledges typically associated with ancient Egyptian construction. The precision of these channels suggests they were carved using measuring instruments and engineering knowledge that seems impossible for the period. Traditional tomb paintings show massive statues being moved on flat sledges pulled by hundreds of workers, with water poured in front to reduce friction. These famous images have shaped archaeological understanding of ancient Egyptian transportation methods for over a century. But at Khafre's desert quarry, there's no evidence of the massive workforce such a system requires. The absence of evidence for traditional mass labor methods forces archaeologists to confront a disturbing possibility. Either Khafre's workers cleaned up their sites with unprecedented thoroughness, or they used transportation methods that required far fewer people than traditional theories suggest. Instead, the mysterious ramps with their strange groove patterns suggest something far more sophisticated and unsettling. The channels are precisely carved, following specific measurements that seem designed for a particular type of transport vehicle. The grooves maintain consistent depth and spacing across miles of desert terrain, indicating quality control systems that ensured standardization throughout the entire transportation network. The ramp system extends for miles across the desert, following natural contours and connecting to what appear to be staging areas where blocks were prepared for transport. These staging areas show evidence of sophisticated stoneworking operations, where rough quarried blocks were shaped into precisely measured forms before transport. The precision of the engineering involved suggests Khafre's builders possessed mathematical and construction knowledge that historians are still trying to understand. Detailed analysis of the ramp construction reveals engineering principles that wouldn't be formally documented until centuries later. The gradients follow optimal angles for moving heavy loads while minimizing erosion and maintenance requirements. Drainage systems prevent water damage during seasonal floods. Support structures ensure stability under massive loads. The level of engineering sophistication indicates access to analytical methods that seem impossible for ancient builders. Even more mysteriously, the ramps lead towards seasonal waterways that connect to the Nile River system. This suggests Khafre's engineers had developed an integrated transport network that could move massive stones across both land and water, using technologies that remain largely unknown. The coordination required to synchronize land and water transport operations across such distances indicates logistical capabilities that rival modern shipping networks. The discovery of these ramps forced archaeologists to confront a disturbing possibility. Khafre's civilization possessed advanced engineering capabilities that have been lost to history. The implications suggest that human technological development may not follow the progressive patterns that historians have assumed. Environmental secrets. Environmental evidence reveals another layer to Khafre's impossible achievements that leaves archaeologists deeply unsettled. Climate data from 4,500 years ago shows the region around the quarry site was dramatically different from today's harsh desert environment. Understanding these conditions makes Khafre's operations even more impressive and disturbing. During Khafre's reign, seasonal water sources existed where there is now only sand. Paleoclimatic research indicates the Sahara experienced periodic wet phases that created temporary lakes and streams across vast areas. These water sources appeared predictably during specific seasons, creating windows of opportunity for long-distance transport operations. Khafre's planners not only knew about these seasonal patterns, but built their entire operation around them. Shallow groundwater allowed the construction of wells near the quarry site, providing the water supplies necessary for extended operations. Archaeological evidence shows that these wells were engineered with a sophisticated understanding of desert hydrology. Stone-lined shafts reached precise depths, calculated to access underground water without triggering cave-ins or contamination. The well construction demonstrates geological knowledge that seems advanced for ancient builders. Most importantly, Wadi Tushka, a seasonal waterway connecting to the Nile, held enough water during flood periods to float heavy cargo. This natural transportation corridor existed only during specific times of the year when the Nile floodwaters backed up into the desert valleys. The timing had to be perfect, requiring Khafre's planners to coordinate quarrying operations with hydrological cycles that occurred hundreds of miles away. Khafre's engineers didn't just adapt to their environment, they planned their entire operation around precise knowledge of seasonal hydrology patterns. Their timing had to be perfect, coordinating quarrying operations with water levels, flood cycles, and transportation windows that occurred only during specific times of the year. The level of environmental prediction required suggests meteorological knowledge that wouldn't be formally developed until modern times. The coordination becomes even more impressive when examined in detail. Quarrying had to begin months before the seasonal floods to ensure blocks were ready for transport during the brief windows when water levels were sufficient. Work crews had to be positioned at multiple locations along the transport route to facilitate transfers between land and water transport modes. Supply chains had to deliver food, tools, and materials across vast distances with timing that ensured resources arrived precisely when needed. The level of environmental planning required suggests Khafre's civilization possessed meteorological and hydrological knowledge that wouldn't be matched in Egypt for centuries. They understood complex relationships between climate, water cycles, and transportation logistics in ways that allowed them to execute projects across vast distances. This knowledge appears to have been explicitly developed for Khafre's projects and vanished completely after his death. Climate records show that the environmental conditions that made Khafre's operations possible existed for only a brief period. Earlier and later dynasties couldn't have executed similar projects because the necessary water sources didn't exist during their reigns. This suggests Khafre's planners understood long-term climate patterns and scheduled their operations to take advantage of optimal conditions that occurred only during his specific time period. This environmental mastery becomes even more disturbing when combined with evidence of their construction capabilities. Khafre's builders could predict seasonal conditions years in advance, plan complex logistics around natural cycles, and execute massive projects with precision that modern planners struggle to match. The implications suggest access to analytical capabilities that seem impossible for ancient civilizations. The Sphinx connection. The mysteries surrounding Pharaoh Khafre extend beyond his impossible stone transport methods. Recent investigations have uncovered evidence of secret passageways beneath the Sphinx, tunnels that may connect to Khafre's broader construction complex at Giza. These discoveries add another disturbing dimension to questions about Khafre's true capabilities and the extent of his construction projects.
None the burning sands of Giza, beneath the silent gaze of the Great Sphinx, lies a mystery that has remained hidden for thousands of years.
The Sphinx itself bears Khafre's face according to most archaeological analyses. The monument's construction required moving massive amounts of limestone and demonstrates the same precision engineering found in his other projects. But beneath the familiar surface lies evidence of hidden chambers and passages that suggest the Sphinx was far more complex than a simple sculpture. Historical accounts from 1837 describe a French excavation that supposedly discovered a hidden entrance beneath the Sphinx, witnessed by Colonel Howard Weiss. These accounts represent the discovery of a passage leading to underground chambers, but the findings were allegedly kept secret and buried in official reports that remain classified to this day. The reasons for such secrecy become disturbing when viewed alongside Khafre's other impossible achievements. Modern ground-penetrating radar has detected anomalous voids beneath the Sphinx and throughout the Giza plateau. These underground spaces suggest a network of tunnels and chambers that could connect the Sphinx with the pyramids and other structures in ways that fundamentally alter our understanding of the site's design. The radar signatures indicate hollow spaces that extend far beyond what surface archaeology has revealed. Recent acoustic studies have detected echo patterns that suggest large underground chambers beneath the Sphinx. Sound transmission tests reveal void spaces that appear to be artificially constructed rather than natural caves or erosion features. The acoustic properties suggest chambers designed for specific purposes, possibly including storage, workshops, or ceremonial functions. If such passageways exist, they represent another example of Khafre's advanced engineering capabilities. Creating stable underground tunnels in the sandy soil of Giza requires sophisticated knowledge of geology, structural engineering, and construction techniques that seem impossible for ancient builders. The tunnels would need to be reinforced against collapse, waterproofed against flood damage, and ventilated for human occupation. The potential connection between the Sphinx and Khafre's other projects suggests his true vision for Giza was far more complex and ambitious than historians have imagined. These weren't separate monuments built over time. They may have been designed as integrated components of a massive underground complex. The surface structures could represent only the visible portion of a much larger construction project that extended deep beneath the plateau. Evidence suggests that access to these underground areas was restricted and controlled. Only specific individuals would have known about the passages and chambers, explaining why their existence remained secret for thousands of years. The Sphinx connection adds another layer to the mystery of why archaeologists find Khafre so terrifying. His projects weren't just impressive individual achievements. They may have been components of an integrated complex that demonstrates planning and construction capabilities that exceed what any ancient civilization should have possessed. The terror of lost knowledge. The actual reason Pharaoh Khafre terrifies archaeologists isn't supernatural. It's the implications of his achievements for our understanding of human civilization. His capabilities suggest advanced knowledge existed in ancient Egypt that has been completely lost to history. The terror comes from recognizing that human societies can achieve remarkable capabilities that vanish without a trace, leaving only puzzling evidence for future generations to ponder. Suppose Khafre could organize industrial-scale operations across hundreds of miles, coordinate complex logistics with seasonal precision, and achieve technical mastery that wouldn't be matched for other capabilities did his civilization possess. The question haunts researchers who study the evidence, because it suggests that human technological development doesn't follow the progressive patterns that historians have assumed. Archaeological sites across Egypt contain anomalous findings that make more sense when viewed through the lens of Khafre's advanced capabilities. Precision engineering appears in structures that predate the mathematical knowledge supposedly required to design them. Sophisticated mathematics shows up in architectural plans that were created before such mathematical principles were formally documented. Complex organizational systems appear in projects that historians assumed were built using simple labor methods. The disturbing pattern suggests that advanced capabilities emerged, flourished, and then disappeared completely throughout ancient Egyptian history. Khafre's reign represents one example of technological peaks that exceeded what the surrounding periods achieved. The knowledge required for such achievements seems to have existed in isolation, without the gradual development that characterizes most technological progress. Evidence from Khafre's projects reveals capabilities that challenge fundamental assumptions about ancient civilizations. The organizational methods, technical knowledge, and analytical capabilities documented in his achievements exceed what historians have attributed to any pre-modern society. The implications force researchers to confront uncomfortable questions about lost knowledge and forgotten technologies. The terror extends beyond just recognizing lost capabilities. If advanced knowledge can emerge and disappear without a trace, what does that mean for our understanding of human development? Khafre's achievements suggest that civilization doesn't progress in the linear fashion that historians have assumed. Advanced capabilities can appear suddenly, flourish briefly, then vanish completely, leaving only mysterious evidence for future archaeologists to puzzle over. Modern attempts to replicate Khafre's achievements, using period-appropriate tools and methods, consistently fall short of the results his builders achieved. This suggests his workers possessed knowledge and techniques that remain unknown despite extensive archaeological investigation. The gap between what historians think ancient Egyptians could accomplish and what Khafre actually achieved continues to widen as more evidence is discovered. The disturbing reality is that human technological development may not follow the linear progression historians have assumed. Advanced capabilities can emerge, flourish, then disappear completely, leaving only puzzling evidence for future civilizations to ponder. Khafre's impossible achievements represent one example of peaks that exceeded what the surrounding periods could accomplish. The implications extend far beyond Egyptology. If Khafre's civilization possessed knowledge that has been lost, what other ancient societies achieved capabilities that exceed what historians have recognized? The pattern suggests that human development includes peaks and valleys that traditional historical narratives have missed entirely. Khafre's legacy forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about lost knowledge, forgotten technologies, and the possibility that ancient civilizations achieved far more than traditional archaeology has acknowledged. His impossible achievements stand as monuments to human potential that has been lost to time, leaving archaeologists terrified by the implications of what else might have vanished without a trace. What other secrets lie buried beneath the sands, waiting to disturb our comfortable assumptions about the past? And if such advanced capabilities existed 4,500 years ago, what happened to the knowledge that made them possible?